impresses me most about Death Parade is how mature and diverse it is with its subject matter. The idea that in the afterlife there's a certain limbo type place where certain individuals await to be judged by an arbiter. How it works is that when two individuals who have recently died and have some sort of connection to one another in some form of way, appear in a bar unaware that they have died and have their memories taken away, they are forced to play relatively fun games like bowling, darts, or air hockey in order to make sure that they live to see the next day. Now, when playing these games, these people slowly but surely get their memories back up until the point in which they died, and the moment of reckoning actually finally dawns on them. In their last moments of life while put in a life or death situation, how do they react? Of course, beyond this point, to further the stake, the arbiter tells the individuals instead of life or death, it's heaven or hell, when in actuality, it's just reincarnation and the void. The idea of pushing mankind to their breaking point even after death is a relatively interesting idea I haven't really seen anybody else tackle before, and I'm actually surprised in how maturely this show is handling this idea. First of all, the participants in the judgments are varied. I mean, sometimes the connections that the two characters have are very close, like husband and wife, and sometimes it ranges from murderer and murderee, and sometimes there's no real connection to the character, they just have a lot of regrets. And of course, we don't just see one arbiter performing a judgment, we see multiple different variations of the judgment process. And a lot of arbiters have very different personalities, having different ways of approaching judgments. And of course, all judgments don't actually end in the same manner. I mean, most of them end very dark, but sometimes they can be romantic, sometimes they can be somber, sometimes they can be flat out humorous. So that really does capture the idea that you really don't know what's going to happen next. Suspense is the key in all of this. It takes the idea of what you think the reaction of a certain character is going to be and flips it on its head. Some of these characters may surprise you in their reaction of being dead and realizing that none of their efforts actually mattered. And of course, our main characters are pretty interesting too. Deckham the Arbiter, who seems very void of a personality to a very humorous degree, and a black-haired lady who we don't really have a name for until the very end. This lady came into the afterlife and wasn't able to be judged, so she sticks around and helps Deckham with his judgments until all of her memories comes back. Then Deckham can finally properly judge her. Throughout each episode, there's an unfolding arc between these two characters. And in context of what we realize about the organization that they work for, it actually is pretty simple, but still interesting nonetheless. And as the show goes on, you grow to like these two characters. You get a really good understanding about what their personalities and their moral standings are. Not really much on how they feel about each other, however, these emotions are implied, so you can make up your own theory on that. And of course, at the end of the series, there is no shifting of the status quo. Only a couple of characters who are better because of their experience. And that idea assures that some things will change from the inside out. Now, this series is actually a spin-off of a short film called Dog Billionaires, which really was just an animation showcase. And the story of that is basically the same thing as the first session of the series. Not exactly the same, but the idea is still there. If you can find it, check it out, because it's just as cool as this series. There is so much I could say about Death Parade, but really, it's something you actually have to see for yourself to get the full idea. And it's not as gloomy as what it's making itself out to look like, because it's actually very varied in its tone. Each episode provides vastly different feels, making the twists or lack of twists very surprising when it comes. And now how their characters react to that based on their situation. This is quite literally a character study in the inner workings of the human mind. And it is totally worth anyone checking out. But I gotta say, for a series that's about sending people to a purgatory location and having them playing games, it is a missed opportunity for one of the games to be Limbo.